Hello, everybody. I am KP, and I'm so excited to kick off this live build session, one of a kind, special podcast episode that I wanted to produce with my friend Connor here, joining us from Spain. This is a very new take on the typical Build in Public podcast, where usually, like, I do a fireside chat style conversation with a founder or a builder. This case, I actually wanted to screen record, and I wanted Connor to show us, all the beautiful things he's been building. He's one of my favorite accounts to follow on Twitter. I'll drop the link to his account and his website and his course in the show notes, so you can all go check him out. But this is all about vibe coding, which is the new trend, the new rage, the new everything lately. And I've had so many pings in the last week from my friends, from my connections online on Twitter and on, in the podcast audience, who are like, KP, we want to get started. We see you building, vibe coding. You see you building a Bolt. Like, what's the best resource to get started? Like, how do you go from 0 to 1? Hopefully, this video will act as that inspiration, both from a information point of view, but also from examples and practical builds. So with that said, Connor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, KP, for having me. I just want to say thanks to KP for having me, and the whole idea of the hackathon, the Bolt.new hackathon, was incredible, and I'm like super excited about that. So thanks for that idea as well.
Thank you. I'm still pinching myself, man. I can't believe it. Like, anytime I have to share that with any like family members or friends, they're like, "You're making this up, right?" I'm like, "No, it's not." Go to hackathon.dev and go. I think right now, last night I checked, it was close to 100K.
Yeah.
Let's pull up. Why don't you pull up? Actually, you have the screen in front of you. Go to hackathon.dev and let's see how many participants we have. If you click on register on the top, it goes to dev post. Let's see how many participants we have in the hackathon.
98,000.
494. How crazy is that? And $1 million prize. Almost, I feel like the $1 million prize is like less impressive than getting 100K people to take part in something like this.
That's true. That's
just insane. And by the original tweet that I made, the vision, the manifestation was 100K. And I definitely did not imagine that would happen. It was almost like a very like shoot my shot hypothetical scenario. And so I'm so glad it's coming to life and grateful for the Bolt team for pulling this off. Cool. So I wanted to ask about sort of you and your background. You've been sort of super deep, at least from my vantage point. You've been super deep into the Bolt ecosystem and the vibe coding ecosystem. So give me a quick sense of like what background did you have, and what brought you to vibe coding?
Sure. Well, I started working online about 7-8 years ago, and I was teaching English. And then I got into like SEO and building websites with WordPress and all of that. And yeah, I was kind of a publisher then for about 4 or 5 years. And then Google kind of changed their algorithm. And yeah, a lot of my websites got hit. It was kind of devastating. But then it was like when Bolt.new came out, like the first time I used it, I was like just mind blown because there's so many use cases as like an SEO, as someone who makes websites, and I would just be writing blog posts nonstop. But then it's like, whoa, I can like create tools, and like there's just so many things that you can add to your website.
You're a non-technical builder, right? You're basically you know how to code. Can you go deep? No, I'm like that too. This is why I'm like, I'm so fascinated and impressed by Bolt and Lovable and the wave of these vibe coding tools, because finally I feel like our time has come.
Exactly.
This is the era. Sam Altman made a blog post the other day. Did you see that?
I saw that.
Finally, it's the idea guys era. I'm like, yes, I've been waiting for this.
Me too.
So I'm excited. So tell me, while the audience are watching this, probably can you kind of point to you had the course website. So can you quickly show the course website, just to kind of see if somebody's interested, they can go deep into that Bolt.new course thing you had?
Sure, yeah.
And this is a shameless plug, but I have to do this because I admire him and I respect what he's been doing.
Thank you. Yeah. So actually, like one of the things, like I've made a lot of courses before online, and you use Udemy and Skillshare and stuff like that. So I actually built like this course platform with Bolt.
Nice. That's meta.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like I made a course about Bolt, and then it's like, okay, all the things you can do with Bolt is like all the different type of things you can do, for SEO and just any type of websites that you might be able to make. I was like, okay, you can make like affiliate marketing websites, free tool traffic, free tools to drive traffic, and all different types of websites you can make. So I was like, why don't I just build this out and then people can, follow along. And, the next ones are the more complicated ones, like the AI SaaS, which I'm going to do as well. So, yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. This is at Bolt.new.course.com, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to go grab one of these after this because this is great. So let's get into vibe coding and some of the tools we've been talking about. So first and foremost, everybody's wondering, okay, what does vibe coding really mean? What's your definition to it? Because I'll share mine after yours.
Sure. Yeah. And actually, I think people have different definitions of this, which is quite interesting. For me, it's like the whole idea of this vibe is like AI does the executing. Like that's just like the most important thing is like AI is doing a lot of the work and you're just like guiding it and kind of manipulating it in the way that you want. You're at, some people say you're adding taste. For me, it's just like, it's that human thing that comes in and just changes, makes the little tweaks to give it polish, I suppose.
I couldn't agree more. The way I would define it is I was very active in the no code movement in 2017, 18, 19, those 3-4 years. And my first Silicon Valley job at OnDeck was because of the no code activity I did and built no code projects at OnDeck. Which resulted in my job at OnDeck and ran the no code fellowship. So I'm very much in the no code ecosystem. So when AI coding came out, especially the vibe coding came out, I was like, whoa, this is like 2.0, right? All of what I've done there. The big difference here, though, the definition of vibe coding for me is like you can actually achieve probably 100x more use cases, and in terms of sheer power that you could do with AI, because of how versatile the backend is.
Yeah.
I mean, how versatile like AI obviously is. Like if you use Claude and ChatGPT, like it's so versatile. It can scroll, it can like crawl through the internet. It can do API calls. It can do all these things, which I know no code tools also can do. But it's so much easier because it's prompting and you're really asking questions and having conversations. I found this to be like stunning when I first got the chance to see it. And so my definition would be basically like using simple English language prompts and conversing with AI and getting it to do what you want. The challenge, though, the slight nuance is that you should guide it in a way because it's got sheer power and it'll do its own thing without proper specific instructions. So there's still a lot of like taming the beast that needs to happen. Like you need to kind of rein it in, like tame the beast and use it, like give specific instructions and go like, but they're all English. You're not writing syntax. The alternative is like syntax or spinning up servers. So that is mind blowing to me. Like someone non-technical like you and I, you don't need to worry about servers and database and spinning up any of that stuff. We just use these tools that are on top of all of that and just converse in English and get them to build websites and apps, right? How cool is that?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like manipulating, but manipulate is not quite the right word. It's just like, just do the thing for me.
Yeah, this is being puppeteers, right? To AI.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the prominent tools in the market. So what are like some vibe coding tools someone should check out?
So the two main beginner tools are Bolt.new and Lovable.dev. They look similar like this. Both of them, are quite similar. I suppose I just have a slight preference for Bolt.new.
Me too.
Just because I think some of the technology behind it is a little bit more powerful. And they're both quite similar. There's another one called Base 44 as well. That's quite good as well, especially if you struggle with some of the parts that can be the parts that we'll show you in a minute now that it can be a little bit difficult. If you struggle with some of them, then that's even more beginner friendly. And then there's other tools that are a bit more complex like Cursor and Windsurf.
Windsurf.
You're starting to really get into like coding at that point, even though they have agents as well that do a lot of the work for you.
Yeah. I think even Replit is worth mentioning in the lineup, like you shared. My first ever vibe coding app was on Replit. So I think it's also just as good as these, but I feel like it's maybe somewhere I would put it personally a little bit in the spectrum of beginner friendly to like advanced, developer centric. Cursor and Windsurf are like somewhere close to the developer centric side of the spectrum, and then I think Replit's somewhere in maybe a little bit in the middle or close to the beginner. And I think Lovable's the absolute beginner friendly, but you have like a lot of limitations in my view, or the output, the design output is not, to me at least, as great as the Bolt and versatile as Bolt. So I've chosen Bolt and stuck with it. I think my advice here to anyone watching is spend like basically date before you commit, right? Like, so spend some time on these tools, like spend like an hour or 2 hours on each of them, prompt, see the output, see what you feel. Over time, you'll get a sense of like, what is your taste? Hopefully your taste is Bolt, because that's what I love and Connor loves. And today we're going to show a lot of Bolt examples. But we've spent some time on all these tools. Even now, I'm very open-minded and curious. So it's not that like, I still try and play with Replit. I still, anytime like Lovable drops a new thing, I'll go and play with it. But right now, a lot of my projects are built on Bolt. So, okay, so people are wondering at this point, like, okay, show us some real examples of the output. Like, show us some real vibe coded apps and tools. What do you got? I have a couple of names I can bring up, but what do you got that you can share, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of things. I made this one as like an Irish tax calculator. So this is kind of I mean, like I always look at things at an SEO way friendly first, so it's like something that somebody would be searching for on Google.
That's
and
a
then,
great keyword, right? Irish tax calculator.
Yeah, so this is for self-employed people. So it's I did this in like one prompt, like this whole website, right? And you'll see
it.
Yeah, it looks kind of simple here. So you just put in your income here, your little few variables here, and then you calculate the tax, and then it all comes out there. So it looks pretty cool. And then, I put in like I know an accountant, so I can send him the leads. So you put in your information there, and then, it's like a lead generation tool as well.
The true marketer in you, man. Like I love that. Like, it's not just vibe coding, it's vibe marketing too. That was
exactly.
I don't think I would have gone to that final step.
So
what I would have done is maybe like sent a report to their email. But I think that's very smart. Connect with and it's, you're recommending someone that you trust, or like someone who's great.
Exactly.
And stupid, still great. Yeah,
you can just like automate this. So this saves into the Superbase database, and then you can use like make.com or something like that to automate like the email. So
emails,
you don't have to you can just leave it here, and it's like collecting leads. So if you think about for your own business, maybe this will be really powerful.
Love it. I love that. So can you pull up my examples? Go to FileForge. By the way, this was built, the one you shared was built on Bolt. Yeah, FileForge.in. I was cheap. I got like $1 domain.
This one?
Yes. So this was built using Replit.
Okay.
And the core idea was basically, I was trying to convert like some file, maybe some, I forgot, it was some HEIC, some kind of Apple file into like PDF. And I was so frustrated because it was some kind of a screenshot of a report or some electric bill. I forgot what it is. But I was like, I need this PDF thing. And I tried to go to file converter online. And I think I was doing either that, or I was doing some file conversion, like size down when it's like 10 MB. Some websites don't let you upload more than 2 MB, right? So I was trying to compress it, and it was like a mess. As you know, like some of these websites are like, it looked like they're going to install virus on your laptop, and their pop-ups are annoying. And for no reason, they're like so clunky. And so I thought, I'm going to screw this. I'm going to build my own, like you can just do things. And I spent like a day, because it was first time for me. Now it would probably take like, half an hour, but I spent a day and built this using Replit. I felt so proud. You can
cool.
you can kind of try it. Anyone in the audience want to try it out, FileForge.in, upload any file like PNG, go to PDF, and so on and so forth. There's some examples there. But so that was my first one. Then there's another one called Agency Hunt. If you go to agencyhunt.xyz, and you may have seen this when I was sort of promoting it like a couple of weeks ago. XYZ, yeah. And this one was built with Bolt.
Oh, cool.
So it's a directory / curated collection.
Oh, cool.
And all the agencies, and as you know, as SEO expert, like marketing expert, agencies love leads.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to get customers, because some of these agencies, for example, like the top 3 featured ones, their lead value is like in hundreds of dollars. So for them, like, spending like, I don't know, like 150 or 200 per month advertising on this, which is no brainer, because even if they get one lead, it's like break even.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And so that was the core idea. There's so many use cases like this, which I feel, Connor, right, that are like low hanging fruit. This, by the way, is not the next Uber, the next Netflix idea.
No. No. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's so easy. And if you think, like, if you reverse engineer, like, who might have, a willingness to pay, who may have a pain point, like who may need pipeline, it's so easy to build things that serve, that purpose.
Exactly.
So click on one of those, open, like, let's say you'll see another page open up.
Oh,
See,
cool.
nice profile page of company, and then there's a little founder.
Nice. That's really
Isn't that
cool.
cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so yeah, it was so much fun. This is when I was sort of exploring Supabase in the back end. I did not know the power of Supabase. I think I used a scratch like 1% of the power with this. And then I watched your videos on YouTube. And then the way you made me, there's a video on where you built a nutrition app.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite videos because it uses OpenAI's API. Blew my mind. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You can actually build something that's powered by OpenAI API, and it was that easy. It took me like 5 minutes to build it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll plug that link in for the audience because it's mind blowing. Because you think of like how many crazy use cases OpenAI can do right now, like ChatGPT, right? And you're
Exactly.
licensing that for your
Yeah.
product. It's like, what?
I think every website in the world could use OpenAI for something.
Yeah,
No, it's like,
for something. I mean, I feel like we have now, I joke with my wife that I actually have now, like, I mean, now where we are, like, we have more use cases and more things to build than time, like than hours in the day, right? So
totally. Yeah.
anyway, so let's go to the live builds. So I know people are probably at this point wondering, these are great examples of the final end products. Show us the process. Show us how to get there. So we have 2 use cases in mind for all of you. And Connor's going to do a live build of both of them. The first one is, Connor, is it going to be a gratitude journal?
Yeah, maybe we'll do that one after.
Sure.
I was thinking of doing the work one first. So
Sure, the work one. So we divided broadly the use case into 2 examples. One would be a work-related project, like a tool, and the other one would be a personal tool. So Connor's going to demo the work one first. So let's get started.
So yeah, I was thinking that it could be cool, based on a lot of the news recently, to do like an import duty. Like this could be a real case, right? Everybody needs, like, I'm sure people are going to ChatGPT and saying, what is the import duty for whatever? I just chose Mexico to the US, but I'm sure every country needs this, and so many people need this. So my first tip really, and this is what I do every single time, is use ChatGPT to help me, right? To get started with my ideas, break the project down, because it's best to go step by step at the moment. You don't want to do something too complicated and give Bolt 57 things to do. It's going to get a bit lost. So you have to just go feature by feature and step by step.
And
so
what do you do for that? Like, what's your initial prompt to ChatGPT about? You speak to it, like you basically like say it out what kind of project you want to build, and
yeah, exactly. I've kind of trained my
I specifically ask, give me a prompt for Bolt.new based on the project idea that I have, and I give out the idea.
Exactly. Like I've kind of trained my ChatGPT, so now that no matter what I'm talking about, it just starts like, I didn't even ask for this, but it's like meta prompt for Bolt.new. Nice. So I like taught my ChatGPT everything about Bolt.new and what it is, and like,
and you saved that. Yeah.
It just like saved that to memory. So now I didn't even ask for this, like, but it just gives me these prompts.
What was your initial starting point for this conversation? Like, I'm just curious. Did you just say like, I want to build a?
Yeah, I think I was on something else, kind of like I was thinking about a product manager app, and then I was like, maybe that's a bit complicated or something like that. Well, basically for this demo, I was like, I didn't want to start connecting too many APIs and stuff for just this first one. So I was like, okay, maybe something like the Irish tax calculator, where the information is already there, right? That's what I thought. As we don't have to keep going back and forth to find, well, that would be version 2.0 of the one that we're going to build now. But let's say, anything, the simpler the better, really, to start off with.
Yeah, to start, of course.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I did. And then I was like, okay, think of a regulation-driven calculator niche, right? So like a fishing quota calculator, something like that, where it's, something you need to
This
check
is so
all
meta
the
that
time.
even for a demo use case, you actually consulted AI to give ideas, which is what I did last night too, right? That's how I got my list of ideas I shared with you. Um, we're so AI native, man. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I can't do anything without consulting first. And a few weeks ago, I did something, and I went down the kind of the rabbit hole, and I got a bit lost, and like I was like, oh, why didn't I consult with AI at the start before I started doing all of this? It's like I just wasted 3 hours because I didn't,
right. Anyway, so the takeaway for people is that speak to ChatGPT or Claude, and mention that the project that you have in mind should be simple and blah blah blah, and make sure that it spits out a prompt for Bolt.new. You have to specifically call that out, and then let's say
Yeah.
you end up with, what's the final prompt like, the one you
Oh,
shared
like,
earlier?
yeah, I was just talking to. I use dictation. Like ChatGPT has a
Yeah,
dictation tool down the bottom there, and yeah, I was just like, okay, maybe just talking to it like I would talk to you, and just say, okay, maybe let's do this, and it's nothing, no technical language at all.
yeah,
It's just talking to it, and then it comes up with everything that I might need,
nice.
and
And then
it
the
gave me.
prompt. So you take this. Do you take this prompt and go to Bolt?
Yeah, so I would just copy that and then just go into Bolt and paste it in like this.
That's
Um,
it.
but it probably needs a bit of checking because maybe we don't want this real time updates. So in this case, I don't really
So
know too
one
much.
tip here for anyone watching would be basically try to, kind of build a stack. I mean, basically, like, try to, what's the right phrase? Like, try to have a V1, V2, V3, V4 evolution of your product, right? Don't overwhelm with the requests that are so complicated in one prompt. So what I do, which is what I think you're trying to do, is like, I look at the final prompt that it
Hmm.
generates, and I would say, I would try to remove some of the stuff, like make it simple enough to get started, and then I'll do like, okay, for V2 let's build this, and V3 let's build this, so
Exactly,
okay, keep
exactly.
going.
Yeah, so like it says no external APIs because I don't want to start doing that. That's something that will be a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know much about import duty. So let's just see what it does here. It's going to start spinning up here. So the important thing to know about this is it's not on your computer or anything like this. It's just being spun up in the web. So
Yeah, on the
like
browser,
on
in
your
the browser,
browser,
which is crazy.
on your
Yeah.
browser.
By the way, for context, anyone watching, usually to spin up, like, to basically write code and like generate results, like, you need an IDE, integrated
Yeah.
developer environment, right? So something like VS Code or whatever, and then that it could require installation, it require plugins, require like all kinds of things, which is very, very complicated.
Yeah.
All of that happening within the browser is a huge innovation,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that the modern vibe coding tools have done.
Exactly. So it's doing all the things that you used to have to do as a developer to find, which I couldn't get past when I tried to learn how to code like 10, 15 years ago. I was like, you have to install all of this type of thing into your
Packages and
computer. But
JSONs,
sure,
yeah.
I didn't know what that was, or I didn't know how to do it. So it's like, it's doing all of that for us here. We don't need to think about that.
It is so magical to watch the left window, man. Like when
Yeah.
I keep watching, because I try to like follow up with what's it doing, and I'm like, wow, it's installing packages. I'm like, wow, it's wild.
Yeah. It's creating components. So these are the different sections of the website, right?
So usually there's about a 2 minute, 3 minute, time period. So expect that, because it's a very complicated. It has to do all these things, which normally would have taken like 4 or 5 hours to set up for any
Yeah.
project
Yeah. I
before vibe coding.
Yeah, I think this
Uh,
is probably a bit more complicated than even the one that I made here.
yeah,
This didn't even take that long at all because there's less variables and stuff.
yeah.
I just copied in, the tax rate and all of that. So I got all of that. Like here it is. They actually put all the taxes here. So if you think about your own job, what I think about is like if you are going to ChatGPT and doing something over and over again, or calculating something, or whatever the task is, you can just build it here. So
That
you
could be
just
a tool. Yes.
type in the variables every single time, and
Re-
then
Remember,
boom.
there was a great sort of meta learning during the SaaS era, where a lot of the SaaS products were built based on this insight. The insight is, if an employee at a company, a mid-market company or enterprise company, has a spreadsheet that he or she reports to leadership about, and which means they frequently go visit and update their spreadsheet, that could be a SaaS tool.
Yeah.
And a lot of there's so many SaaS products were built based on that unique insight. Like, what is a spreadsheet? I had a lot of founders in Atlanta who would go around talking to other people, like, who worked at Delta Airlines or somewhere else, and be like, they would do user interviews and ask them, like, hey, what are some spreadsheets that you would use? Like, what are you,
Hmm.
reporting on? And because the insight was, if there was a spreadsheet, that means there could be a SaaS app built on top of it. I think
Totally.
the modern version of that is, if you're talking to Chat, what I do also is that if I go back and look at Claude and ChatGPT logs of what are the questions I'm asking over and over again.
Mm,
And if I find, like you said earlier, if I find a question 2 or 3 times, I'm like, okay, that should be an app. That could be a use case.
exactly. Yeah. Um,
There you go. Ta-da.
let's see how we get on.
Saying I've created a comprehensive US import duty. Ooh,
Oh, we
nice.
have a
Okay, the
problem.
first uh error. Let's open up and
Okay.
see what it says. Okay.
So it says
So this is
terminal
also
error.
to be expected. It will
Yeah,
run
this is fine.
into,
I mean, you can get like, you don't need to panic when you see this or whatever. You just click attempt fix if you don't
yeah,
understand and just keep
right.
trying this. If it happens more than, 2 or 3 times, then, you've got yourself into a bit of a problem.
Yeah, then you may have to resize the scope and make it, break
Yeah.
it down to, the main insight here is that make sure that you spoon feed AI bit by bit, right?
Yeah.
Don't like shove like a buffet of things into it.
Yeah. To be honest, I
Um,
probably gave it too much information here.
I felt the same when I saw the first prompt. I'm like, man, that prompt is like
Yeah.
overwhelming. Usually, what I do is like things like, oh, let's start a SaaS dashboard, and it should look like blah blah blah. I should do the blah blah blah, and then I say like, wait for my next instructions. Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. It fixed itself. Awesome.
Yeah.
US
It did.
import duty calculator. Nice.
Okay. So we have a little website here that we can calculate the results.
Now,
So,
did it get the logic too, or is it just the UI? Oh, logic. Wow.
so
Let's find out.
25. Okay, well that part I suppose we can't really get the codes. Let's see, we'll do that. And then yeah, you can get your results here.
There we go. It shows the calculation logic. Nice.
Yeah. So I guess like this is a little bit more, complicated, I suppose, of calculation because it's very, niche specific as
It's very
in.
niche specific. I mean, if you are into
Yeah.
logistics and shipping logistics, then you probably know,
Yeah.
the terms that they're looking for. No, I
Yeah.
think it's still a great starting point. I
So
would actually, if you don't mind, I would go to Bolt, or as we speak, like show the real magic. Like, do something like a gratitude journal. It won't. I feel
yeah.
like the lightest version of it could be built easily without going to complicated
I think so,
like
yeah.
work.
So
Yeah.
again, I went to ChatGPT for my. So this one I
Yeah.
just gave it a
Nice.
simple prompt. Yeah, it's like, can you give
Nice.
me the main features of a cool gratitude journal app? Um, and then it gave like core features, voice to text journaling.
What, the cool, the crazy thing is, it's like voice to text is like next level, but it's like adding it into the mix.
That's true. That would be a little bit. Well, it's not that complicated, really. It's
Right.
kind of a little bit, but so it like goes through all the different things and it's like, and then I said, give me a meta prompt for the first prompt in Bolt.new so I can build feature one. So then it like gives me the prompt here. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. It's like you can view your past entries.
I think
I think
let's do this the V1. That's just the feature one part, and the rest, I think we
this
can.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And no login needed. I mean, of course, like to save everything, we have to use Superbase and all those things, right? But like for now, just to show the UI feature.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. I think this
and
one
that's where
is.
your course and your YouTube tutorials will come into play for anything like V2, V3.
Yeah,
People
exactly.
can watch.
Yeah, I think that it is important to know what like you can't do as well. I think that's you can't really. Yeah, like the more complicated it's going to be, the more you need to know about bolts and stuff like that. If you want to save information, if you want to add payments, stuff like that, they do have integrations with like Stripe and Superbase, but that is kind of like level 2 of using Bolt, I suppose.
Both, yeah. Level 1 is just the front end stuff, which
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
every time you refresh the page, you lose the data. Because that's front end, right? Like you're or if you don't have authentication, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like the lightweight tools, like calculators are examples of that. my file forge thing is an example. Like every time I refresh, I'm not saving the file anywhere, so you lose that file. So
Yeah.
hopefully you download your conversion before you refresh the page. Even Agency Hunt, the directories, when I built them, that one was just a informational front end heavy thing. But that's the first layer, right? The first wave or the first kind of category of products. Second one would have authentication,
Yeah.
where you save user information, user preferences, you build a profile on the user, and then like when they log in, then they can see all of that content back again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Damn, look at
Exactly.
that.
So we have our daily gratitude.
Look at
It's
how
pretty,
cool the design is.
it's pretty
Isn't that
cool. Like,
nice?
yeah.
I have a document that I use called prompt engineering, which is sort of my mishmash collection of all kinds of prompts I find on Twitter. I'm going to share one of those with you to make the design look a little bit different. I want to see how it shows up.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Inco did that. Okay, look at this. Take this prompt. I'm going to paste it in chat. This is just for the design. Let's see how that plays out.
Okay. So
I by the way, I spend a lot of time tinkering with the design because I love it.
mm-hmm.
I love that you can say design should be design should be soft and playful with like warm tones, and it'll really do it. You're like, what? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't need to use Figma.
No. Yeah, I use like modern UI with like glassy or glossy
Right? Yeah.
shines or shines or like stuff like
Skeuomorphism. You
that.
can say whatever. There was a tool that I built, my sister built actually, and she was using neo brutalism because she was inspired
Oh
by
yeah,
Gumroad style.
yeah.
Um, Look at that. Look at that
That looks cool.
cool
Yeah, it
little
looks way
lift.
better
I think it's
already.
still doing it, but
It's still building it. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that looks
See, this is
cool.
crazy, man. For someone like you and I, we haven't spent any time with Figma on this.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't spent any time on optimizing pixels or anything. It's just wow.
It's beautiful. And then like I mean that's what the next step is of the vibing is like you can use this inspect element thing
Yes,
tool
can
and
you
then
show
just
that? By the way, I spent a month on both and didn't discover the inspect element. It drove me nuts because what I used to struggle with was if there was a specific logo on the header, and I want to update the like the image used for that logo to
oh
some
yeah.
other image that I wanted, I couldn't get AI to get to that specific thing. I would always say like in typing, like
Yeah.
please update the logo in the header to the logo I'm sharing with you, and it would miss it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched a video somewhere that you have to show the inspect element and then upload the right image. I'm like, so
Yeah. So what this is doing is basically it's just show like you can choose anything like this and then it goes like it zooms
it
in on
selects,
this
yeah,
element on the page so you can just like say uh
edit
change
this, or yeah, or change
to
it to,
Connor's
yeah. So
journal
you
or
can
something.
be even more precise with that specific instruction by selecting the element on inspector.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really cool feature because that's the
Can you
kind of
show them
vibing.
the responsive thing, the mobile? There's a in the top. Yeah, you can preview
Mm-hmm.
like the
The whole page.
one of those icons there will show you the sizes on mobile and like iPad and so on.
So yeah, you
So yeah,
just
if you
click it.
click on
Oh,
this,
sorry, the responsive. This is the full page. Yeah, you can
yeah, that's
check
the
it
full
out.
page.
Page
But
as
you
well.
have to, yeah, there you go. So that's the full page, and then there's a responsive view. There you go.
Yeah, so you can see it on
So
an
you can kind
iPhone
of,
what it
yeah.
looks like. If you want to
One
make
of the things
mobile
I
now.
do in my initial prompt or in one of the second prompts is that I say, now make the design mobile responsive and modern. And then if there's any design inconsistencies, it'll fix it right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah,
Look
that's
at
a good
that,
one.
Connor's General. Wow.
Look at that. I don't think we even asked for that, but it just gave us
Yeah,
this.
sometimes it comes up with like its own thinking, and I'm like, man, you're smarter than me, right? So then let's test out the past entries thing. Like, can you put something in there like ABC, whatever, and then see if it's saving it?
Okay, yeah. So the past entries page is there, but yeah, there's nothing there. So yeah, like it probably won't save anything now. Let's say I am thankful.
That's so meta.
Okay, so
Imagine it
it said
saying,
save, but
there we go.
oh, it did save. Okay,
It did say.
but probably
Now,
when I
this is
refresh,
where, right, this is where if you refresh, it'll go away because it's mostly
yeah.
front end. Now, the back end, just for anyone watching, the back
What is-
end of something like this would be stored. You need two things for the back end. Actually, two or three things. So one is you need a database, which is basically like a collection of tables where you save like Connor's email address, his user ID, and so on and so forth. Whatever preferences, his location, whatever preferences you want to add, save about the user, and their specific data. In this case, it'll be their journal entries in a table
Mhm.
database. So that database part is usually handled by Superbase. Can you show that integrations feature on the top? Yeah,
Sure.
so there's a one-click integration to Superbase that Bolt has. So it's a very easy setup. You can watch a video on it. Yeah, it's a little bit of a step-by-step thing. So we can link the video,
Okay.
Connor, to
Yeah.
your workflow on this. But the other
Mhm.
insight I want to share is that Superbase is not just a database. That's what blew my mind. It also can handle other functions you need in the backend, like edge functions,
Mhm.
which is a technical way of saying basically like logic. Like if you want the backend, thing to like do something, like for example, like, hey, connect this app to OpenAI's API or Cloud API. That's you need to write a piece of code that's logic, connects
Mhm.
front end to that API and endpoints. That can also be done in Superbase using edge functions. That was new to me, by the way. So if anyone's watching, don't make the
Mhm.
mistake I made. I spent like a month trying to figure out because I thought Superbase was just a database, like Airtable,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not. It's way more.
Well, yeah, the first thing that I think about it as well is like you don't really want to use like APIs here because like
Yeah.
this code is being stored here, and usually APIs are stored in this part here. But anyway, you don't want to be storing your API because this runs in the browser, so you need to store your API key, which you need to store it safely. So in that case, we can store it in Superbase as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's
Again,
one of
we'll link all the videos to help you do that. That's like level 2, level 3, but it's very achievable.
the. Mhm.
It took me like 3-4 days to get the level 1 get right, and then from there it took me like maybe 1 or 2 days to get to level 2. So you can basically go from beginner to pro level in Bolt in a month safely, even if you're doing like 1 or 2 hours a day. But
Sure.
the main focus has to be on doing, right? Like the
Yeah.
action part. It's not just like watching tutorials and like forgetting.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the second example. You had I think we kind of wait. The second example is the gratitude one, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn,
Do you
awesome.
want to add something else? Like we could even try this out the superbase edge function.
Yeah,
See
go
if
on.
we
Let's
can
do
add
it. Why
something.
not? We have some time.
That's what I mean. So like usually I would just be going back to ChatGPT to ask for like what else can I do here? Something cool. Um
Like the voice to text thing. I'm sure if you were not recording this demo, I think you would have done the voice to text thing because I would have done that. The only thing
yeah,
is, though, is that it may require a lot of back and forth, right? So
that one. Yeah, I guess like it shouldn't really. We could try it. See, I've done a lot of voice to text, and yeah, it kind of uses the browser, technology, which isn't the best. So you want to use like OpenAI's technology
yeah,
and to actually like record your voice and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I just connected this quickly to another project in Superbase, so we can create an edge function like that. So this is like really, like you said, it's really, really powerful.
it's game changer. Edge functions.
Yeah, so you can just
The
like do
day,
so many
if
things.
anyone's
Like
watching here if the day you guys get to edge function, like it's gonna change your life. Like it's unbelievable. What you can do. Um,
I don't know if this is gonna work now, but let's see. So using OpenAI's Whisper model, so that's their way of transcribing
yeah,
voice to speech to text, and then you just need to break it down and just think about it like okay, we speak to text, and then you can get like text. Once you have it in text, then you can ask OpenAI ChatGPT to respond to the text, and then you can use something else to actually call it out, you know? So that's something that I'm building into my apps, is like, so I can have conversations with my app, you know, just by those three features, you know? Um, so using
Can you
OpenAI's
zoom in a bit
wisdom.
to see that prompt clearly for the
Yeah, yeah.
audience?
Um,
Yeah. Create a super base edge function that allows us to record our voice using OpenAI Whisper model. Yeah.
okay. So yeah, use the OpenAI
API, right? Yeah.
key saved in Superbase. Okay, let's see if this works.
So I was gonna ask, do you not need to create the the saving part of the database first, even before the voice part? Like I'm just saying, if somebody saves an entry,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I guess
Yeah. Yeah.
basically you can still run it on front end, right? Like you can technically run even the OpenAI API on front end. Um,
Yeah. You
she's
could just.
asking you to set up, which you already have. It's crazy.
Sometimes it does this where it kind of puts the code in there. I
Yeah,
don't really
yeah,
want
yeah.
that.
Oh, and by the way, we haven't shown one more thing, which is the deployment of an app on
Mm,
Bolt, which is
that's
using
true.
Netlify. So then they get the URL.
That's true. That's super important because, yeah, otherwise other people won't be able to use this, you know,
Yeah,
because you can only use it. This is in my Bolt account. So if you use
right.
this deploy, then you'll get like a custom, and it's free. That's what I can't believe. Is like, I spend a lot of money on Superbase to save all this stuff, but it's like, why is this, you know?
The deploy thing free. That's because Matt is so generous. I met Matt in SF. He's the CEO of Netlify,
Okay.
and oh my God, he's a visionary. Like he's sort of like a legend in the developer space because he did the Jamstack, which is like a big step in 5-6 years ago, I think. And so they're trying to be in the vibe coding arena as well. And I think one way
Hmm.
to do that is have a generous deployment plan. So
Yeah,
I
it's
love it.
amazing.
I mean, every time I use Netlify, I'm like, I think of him. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Matt's awesome. So,
Oh yeah, thank you.
um,
Because like, yeah, I have already like 9 or 10 websites with
yeah, I
Bolt.
have like, yeah, I know 10 too, like URLs, and they're custom. I've customized them to the names that I
Yeah,
want. Um,
yeah. So you still need to buy, like, if you want to have, you know, ConnorsJournal.com or something, you still need to buy that, and that's like $15 or something like that. But if you don't, if you just want to share it with your friends or something, you can do that for free, which is
yeah.
pretty cool.
So right now, what it's doing is adding voice functionality. Yeah,
I think so.
this is crazy, man.
Oh, I think there's still some steps I need to do. Yeah. Okay, there's like a few other little steps I'll need to do.
You need to update your ENV with your actual Superbase.
Yeah, so they don't have. So I need to go into Superbase and find a few.
A few
They're kind
things
of
to
like
look
the
at.
address and stuff. You have to go into your project settings, and then you'll
Right. How
be
about
able to.
actually, let's skip this part of it in the final video. I'll take it out because I
Okay,
think they can watch like a tutorial, like, and then they get there. Let's
sure, sure.
go, if you don't mind, do the checkpoint thing where you can go back to uh, before you did the voice to text thing, and then from there we'll deploy before checkpoint. Does it make
Okay, yeah,
sense?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Which is also, by the way, another great feature. You can actually go back. Yes.
Totally, yeah.
Um, yeah, we were trying another additional feature, which is the voice to text thing, but that's like, it takes a whole different video on its own. So we'll link some videos, YouTube videos in the show notes. But what we just showed right now is if you went down a certain path and if you don't like that path, you can click on that button called undo. Is it undo or reverse?
It
And
usually
then it
says
goes you,
reverse, yeah, or undo, yeah.
yeah, it takes you back to the checkpoint where before you asked that prompt, which is insane. Anyway, so now let's deploy and let's get a public URL that people can play with,
Cool.
or
Oh yeah,
you can share with your friends.
if you're happy with your website, you just click deploy there, and it will deploy it for you.
That's the key final step in vibe coding, where you deploy it. And Bolt currently has an integration with Netlify, which is what you're seeing. It will deploy to Netlify, and there we go.
So yeah, this is my website now, of my gratitude journal.
Right. If you click on that, look
There
at
you
that.
go.
So you share this link with anybody, and then they can access exactly this exact, web page. And we
Simple.
still haven't connected it to Superbase database. So if they enter their thoughts or entries and then click save or refresh the page, of course they'll lose those. But of course, once you connect the database, it'll like save everything. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. This is hopefully a super beginner friendly, easy primer to get you into vibe coding. I promise you, this is like a rabbit hole like you won't want to leave. Once you get into this, it's like so addicting, and it's been so much. I mean, I'm having Connor. What do you think? Are you having fun?
Oh, I just love it. Like, I'm so addicted. It's crazy.
So crazy. I don't even think about how many tokens I'm paying. So let's talk
No.
about the tokens part of it for Bolt, right? I mean, they have I think they have a very generous starting plan too, for someone brand new. But then the one that I think I'm on is the Pro. Right now, there's a hackathon going on. So they've given for the hackathon, if you join the hackathon and apply and get those credits, you get like I think the Pro month for the Pro 20, I think. Is it? Yeah, that
So
one.
you get 10 million.
Yeah, you get that for a
a
month
month.
for free. So go leverage that. It's awesome. I've built like a whole project and it took me like 3 million tokens, I think.
Yeah,
So, 10 million, whatever that number is a big number for $20. Highly, highly recommend getting it. And you won't
totally.
regret. The way I view all of these tools, Connor, is my perspective is that this is like getting a MBA, right? Like it's worth the investment. So
Totally.
I've given myself a very generous, like $1,000 budget, for the year, or maybe like a couple months, so that like I'm pretty sure I'll make more. Not only just make, but like the education I'm getting is like 100 times more valuable. So
Totally.
don't let money be a barrier. Hopefully,
No, it's so worth it just to learn and to do all these things and create new, like, software is just getting, it's available to everybody now. I think
yeah.
that's
So
the
let
best.
me ask you a couple of final questions. So one is, so it's the Stripe integration piece. So have
Mhm.
you gotten to a place where you're integrating Stripe, into one of your products, and then there's like a, let's say, like a SaaS, version of the tool? Not the example you're showing me, but like any of the previous works you've done.
I haven't done the subscription Stripe yet. I just have a one-time payment.
You do? You have it? How was
For the
that?
course, yeah.
For the course? Can you show us? How was it? Like, was it easy to
Yeah,
build
it
it
was
and then
fine.
display?
Yeah, I just asked for it. It just said create me integrate with Stripe and create me a one-time payment, and it just did it. Yeah,
Bam.
one go.
Damn, that's awesome. I think I wonder if the subscription thing is probably almost similar. Like, maybe it's not, maybe that's the next level, right? Going to
Yeah, that's next. That's for me next week. I'm going to do that for. I'm going to
nice.
launch a new AI SaaS. So that's my next thing. I don't think it's going to be too hard. So.
Yeah, I feel like also this is another note for all of you watching. This is the worst, um, vibe coding tools are going to be in history, because they're only going to get better. Like we've seen, you remember in January or February, these were like not this good, right? There was
No,
no Stripe integration. There was no, there was so many things that were like, I would say like a subpar in terms of how much you had to really sort of navigate your way and be patient. And I think it's gotten so much better. The UX output, like I feel like the UI UX for Bolt output
Oh,
So much
totally.
better in the last
Yeah, there used
month
to
or
be a lot
so.
more bugs and like even before we got like an error and we just fixed it in one click, and that seems to happen more and more. Before it was like you just go down a rabbit hole of bugs and
Yeah, it would like spend
you couldn't
so many
fix it.
tokens.
Whereas now
Um,
nearly every time it fixes it.
yeah, there's also a discussion mode. Can you show them that once quickly?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I do use that a lot. Yeah.
Me too.
Um. Yeah. So this button here.
Yeah,
Uh, if you're not sure of the path to go down to, it's a little bit like the way I talk to ChatGPT, but you can just say like, what should I do next or something like that, and this is connected, I think, to Gemini.
yeah, I think it's connected to Gemini. So it that acts like an LLM, like ChatGPT or Gemini, and then that part it will not do any actions, but it will have a chat with you.
Exactly. So you just
Um,
toggle that on there and press enter, and yeah, you won't spend as much tokens as well. So this is a really good way to save,
correct.
and it helps it to create the plan. So
Yes.
often, in this case, actually it didn't, but it will often give like implement this plan. So like do this, do that,
Yeah,
and
I've
then
done that too. And it will just show a button that says like, okay, now execute this or implement this, right?
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So yeah, it'll keep talking in this case, but usually it'll say implement this plan, and it's less likely to get lost then as well because it spent the time thinking of step one, step two, step three.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Anyway, so okay, so this is great. Let's spend like maybe a minute to talk about some limitations and constraints. So like if someone's, let's say wanting to build an app with vibe coding, what is your recommendations on constraints and limitations? Because of course there are constraints. I don't want to
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
we don't want to be like evangelists, blind cult leaders, right? Yeah. What do you think are the limitations currently as we speak?
There's a couple of things, I suppose. Number one is just that we mentioned it a little bit already. Just try to go like think of how simple or complicated the app will be. If it's going to be super complicated and you need to like integrate with Salesforce and get all these APIs, is like that. Just know that that's level 2 or level 3, and it's fine. You can get there, but you're not going to get there overnight. You need to test this out a few times. The other thing is the security of your apps, and you need to think
Yes.
strongly about that. That part is a little bit complicated because there are bad people out there who will attack you, and so yeah, I think that's something to think about and to learn about as well.
Vibe
Yeah,
coding is getting a lot of flack from from old school developers or like
yeah,
traditional developers because they're like, oh, what about security? What about what about all the hackers? And I think of course, it's definitely a nascent, sort of a trend or a nascent domain. So of course, it's more vulnerable because it's nascent, right?
mhm,
And also the
mhm,
beginners are much more likely to make some rookie mistakes and leave out some of the keys or some of the passwords or whatever in the front end
yeah,
code. So the uh, my hope on that is that over time, the domain will get stronger and it will have its own inbuilt checks and guardrails. Like I think Lovable already did like I think a pretty strong move, which I appreciate.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure Bolt will do this at some point too, which is when you click deploy or just before you deploy, there's a scan it does for all the code and all the projects so far on any security vulnerabilities, and it'll like
mhm,
list those 5-6 things, and you can click on say fix this, fix it, fix it. Right? I think that's a very very smart move. I think all vibe coding tools should employ that technique because
mhm,
beginners, again, right, like they may not know like what they don't know. So what I do for now to get around Connor is in the discussion mode, I go and I will actually type um, in the progress we made so far. Do you find did you find any security vulnerabilities? Can you scan and let me know? You actually type that, it
mhm,
will do it, which is crazy, right? And then you take those results and then you go to the non-discussion mode, which is the build mode, and then you
mhm.
fix them, right?
Okay.
Usually the after you do this 4 or 5 times for projects, you know the patterns
Mhm,
of vulnerabilities. Usually it's the environment, like the keys, leaving out the API keys in the .env file, or not putting in the right place, or not using secrets, which is the feature for Superbase. And so by now I kind of know, the basic ones, not using RLS, row level security for Superbase. But again, over time, these at the back of your hand. But
yeah.
initially, it's better to my tip here is to one, ask the LLM, in this case Gemini, about security scanning, and ask Bolt to scan it. The other thing if it's like a big high stakes project, it's not a side project, like it's a really big high stakes public project that you want to put your name behind it and so on, I would at that point go talk to a real developer
Yeah.
who's like, but talk to someone who's like who's in the AI world, like not the old school developers who will immediately hate the project, but like someone who is, I have so many friends who are developers who are in this, who are in the vibe coding world, and
Yeah.
I'll do like a quick 30-minute call with them, and I'll ask them to share my screen, and so I'll share my screen and ask them to like, hey, can you take a scan and let me know what I'm missing? And they're, again, they know so much, like they will ask the right prompts, and they will even like scan through the right code base, the right package, and they'll be like, you're good, KP, you can go live, and then we go live. So
Yeah,
that's what I'd recommend for now,
for
to
sure.
do the same.
For sure.
Cool. Any
Cool.
any closing thoughts? Like, what are you most excited for in the next few months? Like, are you building anything cool? What kind of roadmap do you
Yeah.
have for this year?
Yeah, I'm building, like I'm usually a marketer, right? So for me, I've been doing very little marketing at all for the last 2 weeks. I've just been building for the Bolt hackathon. And it almost like hurts me. I feel like, oh my God, I need to make videos. It's like I'm almost in the flow of making videos all the time. It's hard for me not to make videos. So I've almost got my project ready. It's almost there. I need a few checks and stuff. So I'm just going to launch that. It's like a language learning AI SaaS. So I'm gonna launch that, and then I'm just gonna market that for as long as I get back to marketing and back to my roots.
We can maybe do another video on vibe marketing. When if you discover anything cool on how you're using AI for marketing.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's awesome. On my plate, I mean, when I have some time, because I'm doing the launch pad, I'm doing all these like paddle stuff in the
Mm-hmm.
nights or in the weekends. My goal is to kind of keep building, keep tinkering. I just built one. I shared with you, I think, the remedy hunt thing. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
I built
Yeah.
the remedy hunt project, and just kind of keep tinkering, keep building, because it's so much fun to be in the arena, to be in the mix of things, like building things as opposed to reading about them or watching tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my goal is to like build, I don't know, like 15 projects or 10 projects this year, and it's like on average they're taking like 5 days, 4 days, depending on my time.
Yeah.
So I think it's very feasible, and who knows, this by the time we get to December, any one of those could take off. Anything could happen. My goal is to mostly focus on learning,
Yeah.
enjoying and learning and leveling up, right? So I want to wrap this up by giving you a shout out, Connor. The very reason you're on this podcast is because of a very kind thing you've done without knowing, which is you put out a video on your YouTube channel on OpenAI's API keys and how to integrate that with Bolt. Which when you did it, you probably didn't even think who it's gonna impact, who's gonna watch. I watched that maybe a week ago, and that whole night,
Mm-hmm.
like for 4 hours, I was like in awe. I mean it. I was like, what? Because it was so easy, right? One, and then I was like, I can literally just prompt, like I can let my users in my tool prompt and get answers from OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
Mind blowing. And Claude, and then I switched to Claude for fun. I was like,
Yeah.
what's working? So
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for that video, and thank
Oh,
you
no
for
problem.
educating
No problem.
so many people like me.
Oh, no problem. I love doing that. I love sharing. It's like I can't stop sharing. It's like I love just sharing everything and learning and sharing at the same time. It's great.
The same thing, right? I feel the same thing too. So
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Connor, and for your time. And when this video goes out, I'll link it to you, and we'll promote it together. All
Great.
right.
Great.
Thanks everyone for
Thank you.
watching.
Thank
And
you.
if you guys have any questions, anything we can help with, please DM us. I'll leave our Twitter links, and we'll do our best to help out. Thanks
Yeah.
everyone. That's a
Thank
wrap.
you.